What's up? What's up, everybody?
Welcome back to that Toy Life Star Wars edition. And our sponsor today is Burger King. Sometimes when you're just really thirsty and you just get a nice medium soda from Burger King, it'll refresh you.
You get a hankering for a Whopper, and then you go there and you don't get a Whopper. Man,
you get the chicken sandwich instead.
Exactly, man. Those things hit. Or as the kids say, they slap.
You go, girl.
But they do. Exactly. The original chicken sandwich in the Star Wars universe, I don't even know what they'd call it. They'd probably call it like a something. I'm trying to think of a bantha cutlet or something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the animal in the Star Wars universe. It would be like that chicken sandwich you go get. Like, I'm going to get me a bantha.
I would just assume it was like the thing from the first episode of Obi-Wan where they're just harvesting like meat out of that giant dead carcass.
Yeah.
And just make it. They probably slice that up, turn that into sandwiches.
Pretty much.
Sand whale sandwich. You like that?
Speaking of whales, we have a whale of a show for you because this week is basically a take two because obviously we recorded a whole episode reviewing the first two episodes. Huh?
We angered the gods of Disney.
Yeah, we angered the gods, recorded the first two episodes, or we reviewed the first two episodes of Ahsoka and lost it. We won't go into it, but we lost the episode. So we're basically just starting over, and this time we're going to include episode 3. Chicken sandwiches hit different for real. Thank you, Scott Knight. That is totally for sure. But no, we'll jump right into it. I'll tell you, man, leading up to it, right into it, I've been super hyped for this show. Me and my wife just went through all the Clone Wars series. We're still watching Bad Batch and catching up, but we went through all of that. We've watched, we watched all the Tales of the Jedi. We watched all the Mandalorian stuff. And like, I even read the Ahsoka novel again, I don't know. I wanted to get myself in the headspace, and man, getting into this series has been like waiting for the new movie for me. And I will jump off from the bat and say it, to me, did not disappoint. Straight off from the first 2 episode premiere, it was pretty much everything I wanted. I mean, they set up everything going forward to the series, especially with the 3rd episode, which we'll get to. It kind of adds a new element. But I would say the first couple episodes, obviously, to me, knocked it out of the park. I mean, there's obviously some nitpicky things here and there, but Ray, I'm sure you may either share the same, maybe a little different, but no, we can jump right into it. First episode, Master and Apprentice, part 1, which is something I think you had talked about before, Ray. You were saying that you really dug the whole.
No, it was horrible.
How horrible it was.
It's terrible.
No, you were really pointing out how like you love the whole overarch arc. Basically, the theme of this show is Master and Apprentice and their relationship and
the
stuff.
title. Yeah, and it kind of carries over into the newest episode. But yeah, in the first one, there was a lot of introductions also, which is typical. I've noticed of Filoni stuff, and that's one reason why I think people are a little I don't know, because I've noticed how people have been a little upset with the show for some reason. I could imagine it's the typical misogyny type part of it where they can't handle 3 female characters being the lead roles. But oh god, what I don't know what point I'm getting at. But I did like that whole when we get further into it in the episode itself.
But I will say though,
relationship is a big part of how the story kicks off.
No, for sure. No, I'm just saying, like, I love how, I agree with you, but I love how even in the opening shot you get, and to me it harkens back to the episode 1 shots, or the episode 1 shot, and then the feel of, you have the 2 Jedi, or what feels like Jedi kind of in the middle of a mission, but it's not what you think it is. Basically it's 2 dark Jedi, as we would call them, or some dark Force users that basically wreak havoc through a Republic ship. and that's where we're introduced to Balin Skull and Sheen Hati, which, I mean, right off the bat, great action sequence. I think it was. I don't know, Ray. What do you think? I mean, I thought it was a
It
pretty
was
reminiscent of like it was a mix. To me, it was like a mixture of Episode 1 meets Episode 4, and a little of Rogue One when Vader's coming down the hall. But it was just sort of a lot of that mixed together, so that there were. To me, it was almost like showing polar opposites, like how Star Wars has always followed the same beat. But then this time it's like you're not following two Jedi, you're following two, dark. Well, what we think are dark users, and yeah, I thought that was a pretty neat dynamic.
Yeah, and yeah, I did feel like there was a difference in the way they were handling it, because you think about it seems like it really started with Rogue One, this whole thing where people like to do these cool little sequences of Force user just mowing through opponents, because we had the sequence in Rogue One with Vader, then we had the sequence in Mandalorian season 2, where Luke mowed through all those dark troopers. So
man, yeah.
Version of that,
oh God,
we see, just how unprepared it seems like the Republic is when it comes to Force users, because they're not, they know Luke Skywalker's out there, and they know that people like Ahsoka are out there, but they are not prepared to handle people, with these abilities at all. So I thought that was kind of, and also the way it was filmed was interesting too, because it did not feel as gritty as, like, say, the Rogue One sequence did, and it was very lit up. It was not dark like, say, the sequence in either Rogue One or Mandalorian, because there's a lot of dark lighting in that. This was stark. This was like for stark white lighting, where we're seeing him go through everybody. So I thought that was like vastly different, just in the way it was designed and shot, which is really
cool. For sure, yeah. But I thought it was really. I mean, just the intro, and I love the designs of their blades, like their hilts and stuff. Like you really get a good look of everything right there from the start. And man, Balin is scary. He looks rough. I mean, I don't know. I was totally into the design. I mean, I don't know what material his suit's made of, but it's pretty cool. It's kind of reminiscent of Kylo Ren, but different.
I swear, anybody who just decides to start doing bad things in Star Wars, they suddenly, like, I think there's got to be this tailor out there that just does exclusively black, and that's all it's like. And I need me a Scuzzo suit.
Yeah, and it's not even that. It's made of it has to be made of black fungus or something. It's made of this black fungus material, and it has to just look like earthen and nasty. But no, I mean, but otherwise, I mean, the intros throughout the first episode, I felt like were really good. I mean, they jump right in with with Hera and Ahsoka.
Ahsoka's first scene was pretty big too, because there's a big Raiders of the Lost Ark influence in that, because she's kind of on a little treasure hunting quest, and we found out what it's about. But first, she goes to, I think the planet's called Arcana, and apparently I think it's like a Night Sister planet or something like that. I think it's affiliated with the Night Sisters.
Yeah, it's pretty much, I think, affiliated with them. And by the way, in the first sequence, the whole reason those Jedi are laying waste to the ship is to rescue Morgan Elsbeth, that was captured in the Mandalorian episode. So yeah, that was a big moment. And jumping ahead, you have the whole Ahsoka,
and the reveal itself. What was it in that sequence itself too? In the first sequence, was that where we were shown that she was a Night Sister?
No, I think it's right afterwards. It's later. It's later on that it's pretty cool that spoiler alert, we find out that this big character, Morgan Elsbeth, or now there's a bigger character, was a Night Sister, which floored me, and I immediately was like, that makes sense. That's perfect.
But it's interesting too, though. The interesting thing about that, I'm wondering, is it makes me wonder in terms of loyalty, or not loyalty, but what is the terms of their arrangement, I guess. I mean, they basically, it's just money, as far as we know. But if you remember, Morgan or the Night Sisters, they were wiped out by the Empire after after the end of the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And so that makes me wonder, like, why Elsbeth is loyal to Thrawn, because she's very loyal to him. That, that's her whole mission, is to find, she wants to find him. So I'm curious, if that's going to be something that's unfolding as the story goes on.
Right. Well, I'm also, I mean, that was one thing, unless, and I could be wrong. Maybe somebody could fill me in on the mythology of it, but I thought that her family was wiped out not by the Empire, but by the Separatists, right?
Elsbeth's family. Oh, who's the guest star?
Ashley. So is it the Separatists that wiped out? Like, basically during the Clone Wars is when her people were wiped out. So it's not even the Empire yet. No, so basically, what happens is she gets, all right. So her family, or her people, gets wiped out during the Clone Wars.
Okay.
You've got, and thank you for our special guest Ashley, the judge. I was wondering about that because my wife asked me the same question. Like, that's why. So they mentioned, they all got wiped out during the Clone Wars, which was the Separatists that really did it, and it shows that in the Clone Wars cartoon. And so basically, I don't think she really, there's really no connection to the Empire really from there, because the Empire is sort of its own entity. And that's just her way of survival. It's like, all right, well, I'm going to take my wealth and build weapons for the Empire and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, all right. So I guess that's her big connection to Thrawn too, is that, he'll beef up her business again or something. I don't know.
He's gonna help me get those guys back on that 9 to 5. But she's there. So Ahsoka is on this planet. She finds this little star map globe.
Yep.
But big Raiders of the Lost Ark influence.
Yeah, because she gets chased by a bigger globe, and I'm like, oh, and I'm just that would be funny if they did that. I probably would have rolled my eyes really hard.
She gets her own version of the of the boulder, which is just a giant explosion that's trying to chase her down afterwards.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because they try to blow her up, and that was a fun little sequence because we get introduced to David Tennant's character from the Clone Wars.
Because they're basically, I believe so, because he was like an old Hu Yang.
He's like a training droid type thing.
Cool training droid, And so I guess they made it seem like he was an old training droid, so maybe even from the High Republic days or something like that. I'm not really sure.
I'm curious to learn. I need to learn more about him, because I thought that was a really cool concept, because I didn't watch the Clone Wars enough to see him in it. I just knew that David Tennant had a part in the show, but
that's the thing is I really don't remember him as being that big of a character. But no, for sure I need to remember. Like, Ashley, do you have anything to add to that?
I was going to say he was only in a couple episodes, and it was just to train the younglings to show them how to build lightsabers.
Okay.
Was he with them on Ilum, like that episode where Ahsoka was with all the younglings on Ilum? Was he in that episode too, or something?
Yeah, because it seems like Yoda took them to Ilum to get the crystals.
Mm-hmm.
They came back aboard the ship, and that's when his character was there on the ship trying to show him how to build them.
So that's where he came from. So maybe that's where Ahsoka's original connection to him is. Like, she got familiar with him through the younglings and stuff. Okay. So that makes sense. But I love the introduction of Hu Yang. Yeah. You've got him. Oh, and also just those assassin droids or whatever they are that attack, or those HK units that jump in and attack. I mean, that whole action sequence I thought was pretty awesome. I thought the choreography was really cool for like dual wield, and it looked a little slower. I would say like some of the choreography probably throughout the series here and there is kind of spotty in terms of speed. I think it's modeled around to let the actors do it, so they can actually perform it, and the fact that Ahsoka is performing dual wield. It's probably got to be hard to choreograph all of that for the actors, and in such a small amount of time, and make it look believable and have them do it without having a stunt double.
I mentioned that Ashley before we were recording that's one reason why I felt like the choreography with Ahsoka stuff may look a little bit slower, is because I think all the choreographers for the fight sequences, I think they're all trying to really get a feel for how to choreograph prolonged fights with two lightsabers. Even the last time we saw Ahsoka in the when she actually fought in the Mandalorian episode that she was in, she didn't do too much in terms of fully fighting someone who could, when she fought Morgan, she didn't really do a lot of, there wasn't too much in terms of the dual wielding because they kind of kept it kind of samurai-ish in terms of choreography. And I don't think it was till like halfway through the fight when she realized that Morgan actually could fight that she actually brought out her second hand. I think it was like that. Or was it that she just flipped it?
I think she just flipped it because we just watched. I think she's pretty much dual wielder the whole time, and it's just. It's still not that slow, but at the same time, it's really, to me. I thought that fight was beautifully choreographed, like her and Morgan fighting in that scene. But it is kind of like a little slower, and they take their time. I agree with you. I think probably they just have to. They're probably having to get used to the choreography and also you have to how you film that and how it looks. I bet that's kind of tricky. I would say, man, go to Donnie Yen and his team because I bet you they've just done so many movies and have worked in Hollywood and in Hong Kong. I bet you he can at least come up with some great choreography and like ways of like doing all that kind of dual wield stuff around the camera angles and everything to make it look really, really cool.
Yeah. And and then I guess back to the story was the way that Sabine comes into it is because of that map that Ahsoka finds, the little globe that's supposed to have a map in it, but she can't unlock it. And Hera suggests that she go see Sabine because Sabine's a computer whiz. She's very good with machines. She knows how to figure stuff out. So,
what did you think of Hera's introduction? By the way, like Mary Elizabeth.
Oh yeah, she's Winstead. Fantastic. I love I love the makeup for her. My wife's still not fully convinced of her yet. Like as Hera, I don't know. I don't think she likes. I don't know what it is with her.
I'm maybe fully pleased with her.
Maybe my wife's just crazy. Maybe she's probably crazy. She's gone crazy.
Yeah.
This is. She loves Natasha as Sabine though. She hasn't had no notes for that, but I don't know, for some reason something about Hera she's just it's not clicking with her. But I've loved Mary Elizabeth as Hera, but there could be some bias in there because I already liked Mary Elizabeth Winstead before this. She's great in everything I've watched her in.
Like Scott Pilgrim and all
Scott
that.
Pilgrim, The Thing. Like she's been in tons of movies throughout the years. Even like Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof. I mean, she didn't have a big role in it, but
Rosario to me is the same way. I was going to say Rosario is the same way, but it's just like when those casting choices are announced, I'm like, that makes sense. That really makes sense.
And I called that. I'll still be proud of that I was able to call that about Mary Elizabeth Winstead. It was like, it's gonna be Hera. She's gonna be Hera. You don't get someone like her and then don't give her a small time role.
Right. No, for sure. Because that is a big get.
Yeah.
Especially for the Star Wars universe. I think so.
But
no, I thought for sure though, like that intro was really cool and you could see. I think you see the Spectre, or the
Phantom 2.
The Phantom. I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. The Phantom 2. I think you see it parked, like docked or whatever, and then
I think when she lands the Phantom, I think you actually do see the ghost in the background. I think someone's mentioned that you can see the ghost in like the hangar bay.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I think it is.
Sweet. All right.
But so yeah, she suggests that she goes see Sabine, and then we get introduced to Sabine, which she's never left Lothal since the end of Rebels. She's still there. And we get a fun little intro from Clancy Brown, reprising his role from Rebels.
Yep. There's also another Rebels cameo, I think. There, the senator,
Jaikel. Yeah, I think it's a different actor, but
that was just cool. That was just cool that they were referencing characters from Rebels and stuff. So
and
dang, I was just gonna say real quick. Say his name again. The first guy,
Clancy Brown.
Clancy. I was gonna say Clancy fits that. He fits the look and everything of his character perfectly. I'm like, wow, that was so convenient.
Yeah,
he just fits right in.
And here's a cool thing I didn't think about I didn't think about this in the last episode, but part of where Sabine is emotionally, I thought when we see her again is I think she's still when we see her again, she's still, she still has Ezra's hologram. She has a hologram recording from him. And the interesting thing I noticed about her is that you notice her clothing, she wears a lot of warm colors, which was kind of Ezra's color scheme throughout all of Rebels, was very warm colors like oranges and yellows.
Mm-hmm.
And she's wearing that now. She's wearing yellows and oranges. So I thought that I didn't catch that, or I didn't think about that at the time. And I thought, it's kind of like maybe showing how much she's trying to honor his memory, and also that she misses him. She wishes she could find out what happened to him.
Yeah.
And then, Ahsoka comes to her with the map and, the theory that it could lead them to Thrawn, and what matters more to Sabine is it could lead them to Ezra. So I thought that was interesting. And then there's the whole thing between them, because we find out that after Rebels, sometime between Rebels and now, Sabine trained under Ahsoka for a bit.
Yeah. So Ahsoka was trying to at least
and
begin to train her as a Jedi.
And it didn't go well either, because according to Sabine and what Ahsoka said, also, Ahsoka just kind of up and abandoned her, just left. Which, not the best way to end a friendship.
She abandoned the Jedi.
Just stepped out. Bye.
Yeah, she's like, listen, when I see problems, I'm gone, guys. But no, I mean, no, that was a pretty cool reveal that they actually had a relationship in between. Like, they actually tried it out as a master and apprentice, and it just didn't work out, which was a really interesting story.
Yeah, and I like what Dave is trying here, because as he expands on it in each episode, because the easy thing people will latch onto with the first part when they find out that she tried to train Sabine was, Sabine wasn't she wasn't Force sensitive. I think this is part of Dave building a new mythos of what it means to be a Jedi, or what it means to be in touch with the Force, which, if you go back a little bit more, is, or not back too much, but something Rian Johnson kind of started a little bit in terms of trying to add to the mythos. Maybe it was unintentional. Because he tried, he did start this whole thing, because it was a very controversial thing that he had started, which was anybody can have the Force. He had Luke even say the line in The Last Jedi, which was, the Force belongs to everybody, not just the Sith, not just the Jedi or the Sith. So, he tried to put out this, concept into the lore, that the Force, just as Obi-Wan said in A New Hope, was, it's a thing that touches every living being, in the universe.
It seemed like George tried to explain. The way I took it was that, because everything, the Force is in everything, but certain beings have an abundance of Force, like midichlorians, I guess, or whatever. But they channel the Force extremely differently than other people.
Yeah.
So I feel like, in ways, here's my argument to it, and I'll say this: I appreciate what they've done, and Rian Johnson, like him adding that to the lore. I feel like, in a way, though, this is a retcon, because they're
it's like, that's what I was getting at. It's a way to take that piece of the mythos without throwing it completely aside,
right?
But reworking, expanding it in a way to say, like, it's not just how you're hearing it. This is what it actually means.
Right.
And
but it is important to realize that being, not anybody can be a Jedi.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I feel like it starts to get muddled a little bit. Like, because they're like, well, the Force should be for everybody. And I'm like, that's totally true. But remember, like, only certain people can master the Force. And, like, I mean, and it's hard to even say Jedi or Sith, because those are just organizations of Force wielders, but like a Force wielder, I guess. But I do appreciate this, especially with this, it focusing on the fact that the Force moves through everything and works differently in different people.
And we've even seen examples in Legends of how the Force can be more or less effective on how it touches somebody. Because there have been Jedi
One in particular I remember.
Corin Horn,
Yep.
right?
Okay, Corin Horn was my number one.
Yeah, basically
he couldn't move stuff with the Force.
Yeah, he has no Force sensitivity in terms of like being able to. I mean, not Force sensitive, but no Force abilities in terms of like being able to lift stuff with the with the Force
or being moved with the Force.
Yeah,
like lightsaber fighting. That's all just him with skill. It's not the Force moving his blade or anything.
It's not unheard of for someone to have very low latency, and I think that's what Sabine or what Ahsoka probably was trying to do, is just trying to help Sabine in even if she has little to no Force potential, she does have training, and I think she's capable of being able to.
I think she senses there's more to her. I think there's, and I feel like it probably manifests in different way. In a different way with Sabine. Like, look at her, she's artistic, so maybe the Force moves through her with art or something. With the way she draws. I wouldn't be surprised if like she starts drawing stuff in the future and all that. Like.
But do you think this waters down Force users?
That's where my argument comes in, is because I feel like it toes the line. It's like it could water it down, just like if they've watered down the whole part of Luke being the last of the Jedi. But there's been a million Jedi running around since. But I mean, at the same time, you have to. I guess I try to put it in perspective, But I could see people making arguments either way.
Yeah. Well, I'll say it like this: not everybody can be a Navy SEAL. Not everybody can be a samurai as much as they might want to be. You can try to do the training, and sometimes it just won't take.
Right.
But I think this is Dave is doing something with the mythos in terms of expanding it that I think is a different direction than I think some people keep wanting them to push. Because I always hear people push like, oh, I want to see the idea of a gray Jedi, stuff like that. Or I want to see the spectrum of the Force. But Lucas, and I think Dave tries to keep along with what Lucas's wishes were in terms of the lore, was the light dark side wasn't ever really a spectrum. It was more the Force. The default state of the Force is just the light side, basically. That's just the default. You just call it that because the dark side exists, which is more of like a corruption of the Force, like an infection of sorts. And it's it just appeals to the darker side of people. So I feel like in terms of keeping with that, instead of just worrying about some kind of spectrum, it's just about how it touches people, how people can feel it.
And also, I was going to say before we, I totally agree. And I was going to say before we move on from Sabine and talking about the Force, I was going to say I loved her intro with you get to see the E-wings and stuff in the New Republic and the music. I don't know how you felt, but I thought the music was pretty.
It felt
awesome.
like something she would listen to.
Yeah, it was like Japanese riot girl, 90s, garage rock. It was really cool.
Punk.
Yeah, it was really fun. Yeah, for sure.
But
no, I was going to say you get towards towards the end of the episode when Ahsoka's come to Sabine and it basically is like you unlock this map, this map globe thing for us. Obviously she can do it. She unlocks it for them, or she unlocks it. She figures it out. She knows she can do it. Figures it out, and immediately is like some droids are on her trying to take it from her, and so we have a big climactic fight where she's trying to do a little hot potato, keep away from the droids. But I was like, they're pretty brutal because they tear up her little or Ezra's place pretty well, not badly, but I mean they destroy like her tech and stuff. I mean
he's not getting that deposit check back.
Nope, not that. And
but she faces off Shin Hati, and then something happens in the show that makes more people mad, which was she got stabbed and survived. Right,
which I mean, she said that was the thing though.
Oh yeah,
she gets stabbed, obviously in a non-lethal place. Yeah. But it made me start thinking about which, after thinking back on that episode, there was a few sequences, especially in the very beginning when they're going through the ship. It seemed like there was at least one shot where they tried to make you see that they weren't killing the people. Like, like Balin took a dude out, like he tried to cripple him in his leg, almost like T2, when like Terminator was like shooting everybody in the leg so he wouldn't kill them as he promised. That's what it felt like. So I'm wondering if she purposely pulled her punch for some reason there. But I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. But
Yeah.
leading that into episode 2.
Yeah, I'll say the easy answer to that is just because he's not a Sith. It's obvious he's not a Sith. So I think it's more of that Jedi instinct of that he's just not out to kill people. He's out to do his job.
And maybe she's the same way. Maybe she's like, I don't want to murder anybody either. I just want to.
I don't know. I don't know. There's something about her, and I think we'll get into that because I don't know. I think there's something brewing inside of her. Sometimes it feels like that she's maybe having a tangle with internally. But second episode, we see Sabine's healing from the wound because back to exist and back to in Star Wars is a very kind of cure-all for a lot of injuries. So. It is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say. I know you might get mad that she got stabbed and survived when Qui-Gon didn't survive, but I'm sorry she didn't get stabbed through the center part of her chest and sever her spinal column. So
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Whoops.
Angry fandom.
No, why. But I do feel like it was almost a pulled punch. I don't know. Like, as I felt like she could have crippled her, she could have killed her.
Yeah.
But no, I obviously they get the map, get away, and then they take it back to Cetos or whatever it's called. That's the planet, where they're hiding out. And Morgan Elsbeth, she talks about basically how she reveals the whole grand plan of Thrawn being trapped in the other galaxy and how they're they want to build this. Yeah. What would you call it? Like
it seems like it was the thing that they're building there's a pathway to another galaxy.
Yeah,
and we saw the hint of that in the first episode because when Sabine unlocked it, she saw like the hint. She didn't get the precise coordinates, but she saw that to another galaxy.
Saw some. Yeah, you just saw some trail going off to beyond the galaxy. So we have to figure that out, and then they track the. Oh, that's right. I was going to say Ahsoka. Ahsoka goes back to check again, I guess, for more information at the hideout. Leftover droids there. She takes it out, and she's able to preserve the core, the memory core, which they're then able to track it to Corellia, which I got super excited about because anytime you can go to a expanded universe planet that, especially from Legends, and Corellia to me is a big planet.
Well, here's a question. So let's not get too much into the mythos or anything, because I know that we can get lost on tangents, but more about Legends than I do. Was Corellia always so kind of dingy, industrial dingy in the Legends canon? Because I remember how it looked in Solo, and it kind of continues that where it seems like it's industrial to the point
I always
that the planets kind of suffered from it.
Right. That's I can't. That's the thing is I am going back through that because I want to rediscover and see if that's truly how it was. From what I remember, because I remember reading the Corellian trilogy where Han, is sort of fighting his father and all that sort of stuff. It seems like Corellia is like that because it's a big shipbuilder planet, so obviously it's going to be big industrial planet. So I always assumed that there would be a lot of there would be a big import of just shipbuilding and ships and pilots that come off that planet. Yeah. But then also I felt like there was probably some organization of underground smugglers because I assume that that's where Han came from. So that's why I just always assumed that Corellia was sort of not dingy, but there was like it's either industrial and very heavily on the kind of like a like military industrial complex sort of thing. And you have your pilots and your ships, but then you also have the opposite of that, which is like your yeehaw boys and your the ones riding out in the wild of the galaxy in their freighters or in their hodgepodge ships and smuggling and all that sort of stuff. And then because I always wondered if they would ever explain the blood stripe, like Han Solo talked about. But anyway, I'm just saying, Corellia seems like it's an underground sort of dingy place in parts and industrial in the other.
Say it's like this. It's like Coruscant is Manhattan and Corellia is Cleveland.
Something like that, or Detroit or something, like Corellia would probably be Detroit because of all the the car makers, the car builders.
That's a good point.
So it would be I think Corellia would be
Detroit was the direct inspiration for Corellia.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's crazy though, but I love that how they're we tracked the dadgum robots back to Corellia, so we're going to go to Corellia. So then you go to Corellia, and this is where it blows my mind, right? You get Ahsoka and Hera, and this is cool because Hera jumps in on the mission. And I don't know if you wanted to add anything, right?
I'll just say, well, the place they go to is a shipyard that was formerly owned by Elsbeth.
Yeah. So you get there. I know. I was just gonna say yes. So you get there, goes to the shipyard that was formerly owned by Morgan Elsbeth, but no, it's
still run by, but still run by the same people who were there before.
Same people that were there before, but they promised that they are ex sympathizers. They are now friendly to the New Republic, and they just run the place, and everything's cool, and so they're trying to do this inspection, and the next thing you know, after too many questions,
you gotta wonder what the vetting process was for letting these people stay. It was like, now, are you sure you don't like the Empire anymore? And they go like, no.
Yeah.
No.
And then they're like, and then the guy looks down, he stops, or he or she stops and looks down, and they go, are you sure? And they're like,
I hate the Empire.
And then they stop, and they just have to think about it, and it's like, yes. and then they're like, you're hired.
He has to read his hand like,
yeah.
Yes, I do hate the Empire, but
yes. No, I mean it. So basically, after too many questions are asked, an action sequence ensues, and you've got basically Hera having to like fly off after, because basically you see that they're doing something with these big hyperdrives. That was one thing we noticed, is when they're interrogating the guy. Obviously, they're moving these big Super Star Destroyer hyperdrive cores somewhere, and they're like, why? Oh, where are you going with them? Oh, classified. And that's what kind of leads into the action sequence, which I'm like, what's going on? Hopefully this doesn't trigger people, but I looked at my wife, and I'm like, this was like if after World War II, we had went in, like the United Forces went in and took over Auschwitz and released all the Jews and everything, and then told the Nazis like that was bad Nazis, and then left them in charge to just be like, you just don't do anything bad. I'm like, what did they do? But it shows that like the New Republic really is only, their hands are tied. They can kind of only do so much.
Because I think that's another thing Filoni's been setting up, is how the Republic got to the point that they got to by the sequel trilogy, where it was almost brought, it's pretty much brought to its knees by, the First Order.
Yeah, so much.
But,
I was just going to say, it goes into the action sequence. You got Hera and Chopper taking off after the hyperdrive, the people with the hyperdrive. You've got Ahsoka jumping, out into the shipyard or whatever, and she's confronted by the Inquisitor, that mysterious Inquisitor Mayrock or Marok. Merrick. Anyway, you have the Inquisitor, and then like an assassin and HK droid or two.
Cannon fodder.
Cannon fodder basically. But it's pretty cool action sequence. I dug it. There was again, it feels like it's a little more just kind of like 1, 2, 3, go 1, 2, and I get it, because they want to film these actors and make it seem like you're really seeing them in action. And I know it's got to be hard to do the dual wheel, but I felt like the choreography was still pretty dang good for and pretty well filmed, and so far, let me just say, for the whole series to be a TV show, good God, at the special effects, man, they have mastered it. They've cracked the code on this. This is what George has always talked about, waiting on. He wanted the TV series to look like this, when they could have it look this good. But anyway, so you get the big fight. You're getting the big fight with that. So it seems like you always get treated with some good action every episode so far. You got the fight, but then you get this really cool chase sequence,
where you get to see how. Well, yeah, I like that it's a way for them to demonstrate in live action, to show you that Hera is a good pilot. There's a reason, why she has.
And Chopper's very funny.
Yeah. But hey, I saw his little stash, and I thought, he reminded me. I said it to my wife afterwards, like, he's a lot like a crow at this point. He just probably takes stuff and just like collects it somewhere, just puts it in a box.
Yeah,
steals from people probably randomly.
Yeah, and just randomly happen to have a tracker in his little nest, and And I thought this chase sequence was really cool. I thought the ship that they're chasing, I just thought that was a really cool design. The big cannons on the back firing at them, and they're having to, go through the atmosphere and all that. I don't know. I just thought that was a really fun Star Warsy sequence. And then,
and the maneuver she pulls to get the tracker on was a fun little like kind of reminded me of like World War II, dogfighting type maneuvers.
Oh yeah.
A little like flip over, inversed flip over the top.
Yeah, for sure. Almost a little Top Gunny too.
It's Top Gun too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that was such an awesome little maneuver. I mean, to me that though it's like to me I don't think they're cracking the code on. I don't think they're like making history on the show so far, but I like how the action sequence and everything have been to me at least.
Well, they're doing fun things. They're doing fun things that I really haven't seen. You don't have to do anything new. You just one of the best things I've ever heard in terms of like writing, in terms of reaching an audience and getting them intrigued, is to do a mix of new and familiar. So, make something that someone's comfortable enough to be like, okay, I get this territory, and then kind of pull new stuff in for them to go, oh, and I felt that like that little maneuver she pulled, her little chase to get up there and do that. Felt like that was something kind of new with what I'd seen in live action Star Wars.
Oh, for sure. No,
I thought that was a fun little chasing, because it wasn't all about her, doing a dogfight, trying to shoot them down, So it was more of just, we've got to find out where these people are going, and I don't have any weapons, so let's just find a way to see where they're going.
Right. So, after that, we, everything kind of wraps up. The ship takes off with the hyperdrive core and the tracking device. We've got, Ahsoka and Hera kind of recapping everything back at base. Sabine now is convinced that she's, I think especially after she sees that recording of Ezra, if you remember, it's basically like it looks exactly like from the Rebels cartoon, Ezra giving his last word to her.
Yeah. But I did go back and watch his final message to the crew. It almost makes me wonder if this was a separate thing he had recorded at some point for her.
Probably for her, because it is different. It is a little different. But I like that they have that little moment, and then it convinces her to she cuts her hair, kind of like a samurai. It's almost like a samurai moment. I thought was really cool.
It reminded me of
and gets her old armor out.
Yeah, it reminded me of the scene. Strangely enough, it reminded me of the scene from Mulan when she cut her hair. It made me think of that. But there's a cool way in which she there's a little detail. I don't know if it was just something Dave actually put into the script, or if it was something Natasha maybe came up with. But or the director maybe, but the little kind of the way she would flip the knife in her hand a little bit, kind of ceremonial like, before she went and cut it. I thought that was cool little detail they added. So that was really nifty. Sure.
No, I thought that was a really cool sequence. And then obviously
but she also did do a movie cut. Do you get you know what I'm talking about? Because she just grabbed it in a ponytail, one slice, and then the next time we see her, that's just styled short hair.
Yeah, no, but I like that they still, they have all those, all of that leads into that final shot of her going up to the mural, the mural they have in wherever it was at the Capitol on Lothal is where they have that mural.
I think so.
So it's basically got her old family, it's got Kanan and Hera and everybody, and then so it's basically recreating the final scene in Rebels in the epilogue, which is awesome. The only thing missing is Ahsoka doesn't have that awesome staff, like she did in the cartoon. I love that staff, but in the live action, she doesn't.
I wonder if that is intended to be that scene, just like with some retcons that Dave's added, because he's maybe doing something different that he didn't think about when he was, when he did the epilogue the first time around. Maybe
right, probably
because it does seem like, I do remember it sounded like the intention or the vibe I got from that scene in the animated series was that Sabine was going to leave with Ahsoka to find Ezra. Mm-hmm. She had her the little satchel. She had that little satchel, like she was traveling, like she was going to be traveling somewhere. So it felt like it was, we're about to go on another adventure, scene. And this was that exact intention of that scene was, them deciding they're going to go off, and the intention is to find Ezra. So I'm wondering if that's supposed to be just that scene recreated, just with minor differences.
I'm sure it is. That's what I think it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get that. Then obviously you get to see kind of the after effects of where that hyperdrive goes, which made me immediately. I mean, I had my number one thought, and I'm sure you had the exact same thought. Just
outbound flight.
Outbound flight.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes. The only thing missing is it's a little different. Outbound flight was a mixture of dreadnoughts. But this one right now is just, it looks like a ring or
just a big hyperdrive,
ring,
massive.
Yeah, so it's probably just going to borrow some ideas from Outbound Flight.
Yeah,
but yeah, I was floored. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. We're really digging into the Legends, EU now, at least for inspiration.
Yeah,
but no,
and then
I don't know. I'm just go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say. So, do you want to step on into episode 3 then, the newest?
Yeah, I was going to say time. Well, that was Toil and Trouble, which is again kind of in that whole doubles. Master and Padawan. This one was Toil and Trouble. Still dealing with doubles. Now we've got Time to Fly,
which was a big. The biggest focus on this one was space,
space and flight. I was going to say that's why I felt like the title was very convenient. So. Yeah. I thought this was, I don't know if it was my favorite episode of the series, but I had a lot of fun with this one because it's always great to have some space combat.
Yeah, it was, I really liked it in terms of, one thing I really liked was the continuation of the relationship between Sabine and Ahsoka was showing, I think Ahsoka was finally realizing some of her own faults in terms of trying to train Sabine. And one of those was she would always speak down, like she would kind of speak down to Sabine constantly, would never work with her on things. Right. Like, because I think there was a back and forth that Sabine was wanting, and she would always just only get it one way from Ahsoka. Whereas in Ahsoka would say things to Sabine, but she would never listen to anything Sabine had to say back. And I think that was one thing that happened in this episode was, during the big space battle, Ahsoka finally started listening, in like, okay, so let's do it your way. I'm going to start flying. You tell me what to do. And that, and then when they started working together, they started actually making progress. I liked that little, that little demonstration showing their development.
For sure. No, I loved all that, especially them just working together in the ship. But before we get to the battle, we obviously see her begin the training, like Ahsoka's training Sabine on this one, and she's training with Huyang with the fly, I guess.
Which I thought that was pretty cool. Sabers. Like, I was wondering what those were, the translucent training sabers. I was wondering like how it actually works. Yeah, but what's cool is it seemed like after it was done, he revealed where her slices went. Where all of her strikes ended and what angle they went in at. And you could see, like, after they were over, like, I guess the red ones were ones that were improper.
Right.
And then there were the solid ones. And I like how the great thing I like about that with God, I always forget how to pronounce him. Huyang?
Huyang, yeah.
Huyang.
Yeah.
Is David Tennant has him just be so deadpan and unhelpful, to a point of almost being like unhelpful too with how he talks about it. He's like, you're the worst. You're just, it's not like he examines the way she her results for the training. And it's like, it's not bad. It's not good either. So I thought
wasn't there a line, or if I'm imagining, I feel like he was saying that she should just give it up or something like that.
He did.
I'm like, he is cold to this girl.
He's very cold.
But no, I really did like his style, because I'll be honest with you, it kind of gave me some Grievous vibes. But then I liked how it was just like these cool little lightsaber hilts with the holographic. Trying to remember what the rolls are called, but like the little bamboo roll things. But
God, bamboo sticks.
Well, not the bamboo sticks, but it's like those things that you cut with the katanas. You can slice them. You do your diagonal slices.
We're getting into Ghost of Tsushima territory here.
Yeah, well, but I was going to say I love
terrible bamboo sticks.
Well, I was going to say by the way, while Ahsoka's training Sabine, I love that she brings in this form where she calls it the Zatoichi. or Zatoichi.
I think it's Zatachi.
Form.
I think
Zatachi, yeah, because it's the blind swordsman Zatachi. So it's so it was a reference to old samurai,
which makes sense,
form.
you know,
Yeah,
because that
cover
sounds
your
like
eyes.
something Lucas would do. So that sounds like something Filoni would pull. You know,
I was totally
cool.
for that. I thought I caught that,
I didn't know.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
and it was
that
fun to
great-
kind of watch her kind of teach Sabine kind of how to be. You know, I think this was her trying to get her to kind of tap into any latent force potential that she may be able to feel.
Oh,
Is
for
trying,
sure.
you know, so try to, and not just that, just skill, trying to use more than your eyes for your environment. So that was pretty fun. She didn't do too great at it, but she had a little bit of.
I like how she's like, start small, like just you'll get it. Just
he's talking
start
about
small
the,
and, you know.
Yeah. Well, and you to the point that y'all mentioned earlier about if it dilutes Jedi, you know, Ahsoka even admits herself that, you know, natural talent, you know, or, you know, is a factor involved with, you know, people who become Jedi. It's a big factor.
Yep.
So so
well, I was going to say
it seems
that
like a stepping stone.
Yeah, no, for sure. But then I like how they also kind of show you finally get to where they talk with the senators of the New Republic, like Mon Mothma and the other senators, and they're like, "Look, Thrawn is we found this out. Thrawn is a threat. They're trying to bring him back. We need a force to come with us to Cetos and, you know, take him out because that's where they track their ship to." And it's like, here we are. You've got Mon Mothma. Yeah, computer says no.
but it's mainly one person there was the voice that kind of made them all go, "Oh, sorry," but it was it's the father of the main character from Star Wars Resistance.
I believe so.
I'm forgetting the main character's name. Do you remember the character's name, Ashley?
Kaz.
Yeah, Kaz's father.
Thank you.
Ziono, I think that's what they called him in the show. Ziono.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and he kind of got called out by Harry in that because it sounds like he was someone who just kind of sat in the background during the Imperial like conflicts and everything, and just waited for whoever ended up being the winner, and then he got in, got in on the power. So yes, they have no help from the Republic, at least at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's just Ahsoka, Sabine, and Hera's still stuck at home one with Jason, who we get to finally see for the first time in live action since we saw his little cameo at the end of Rebels. You know, this is the son of Hera Syndulla and Kanan Jarrus. So it was pretty cool seeing the kid there, and then he did have the green hair.
Yeah, no, I was excited. I was like, thank God he has the green hair. I mean, beyond that, it's not really much expectation other than we'll see how he goes. I mean, I was happy with him.
Yeah, it was a typical, kid introduction, but they didn't do any of the cardinal sins that people really have in Star Wars so far with him yet, which is, have him do something that makes them irritatingly,
like yippee!
Well, not even that. It's just like, how people, the first thing that made people start hating on Obi-Wan was Leia escaping the kidnappers, how she would like sliding under trees and stuff, and the kidnappers could barely keep up with her for most of the chase. So hopefully Filoni doesn't fall in any of those traps. He's usually pretty good with his storytelling stuff. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But back to Ahsoka and Sabine.
Well, so do you think that Jason ends up at Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple and gets killed by Kylo Ren?
I don't know. I'm wondering if he's even. I'm assuming he has force potential, but I wonder how much force potential he'll end up having.
I'll say, yeah.
I'm assuming he does.
This is my thing because everybody I've noticed anytime any Jedi gets revealed that's alive between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, everybody starts theorizing immediately. Does this person get killed by Kylo Ren? Do they get killed by? Because it's like an endpoint. It's like, because we got to get all the Jedi off the board again. So naturally, every Jedi that's going to be there is going to be dead. But I'm going to say this is Filoni. And if he wants his characters to survive, he will find ways to get around that, like that kind of, what do you call it? Those absolute points in canon, where you need to you know, he the way around it for Ahsoka with, you know, the Purge, you know,
She walked away from the Jedi Order.
Walked away from the Jedi initially, but then they expanded on it with the whole Mandalore thing, where she actually did, you know, she actually was almost purged if it wasn't for Rex, you know, telling her that something was wrong. So I don't think if it's Filoni, I highly doubt there's any risk of Jason being there, and that's if he even survives. You know, and Filoni's usually not that vindictive of a writer. You know, he even had a hard time letting Kanan die. You know, Freddie Prinze Jr. ended up having to convince him to actually go forward with letting the character stay dead.
Right.
So I don't think he's at risk. I don't. But on to episode 3, because there was a really fun part that I really, really loved, and I didn't know I needed in Star Wars until now, which was lightsabers in space.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I thought that was like, I think my wife was a little bit like, okay, this is.
Well, when she said,
"Can they do this?" And I'm like,
well,
she's a Jedi. Yes.
When she first said, "I'm going out there," I was like, what are you talking about? Going out where? And she just at first, because it's a far away shot, so at first I'm like, is this crazy ass person just about to try to step out and make a force bubble to like keep themselves alive? But then I saw the suit and everything. I thought this was really a fun little thing that they were doing. She had her own little Togruta, you know, sized suit for her biology. But the whole little sequence where she was deflecting blaster fire from a ship, that was crazy. I love that.
That's just a callback to the Clone Wars, though, because Anakin used to do it quite a bit.
Oh, so that's okay.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, you know, I'd never seen this because I think this is the first time this has happened in live action, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, that's the thing is they're trying to bridge a lot of these, like, oh, you can only do that in animation. It's like Filoni's, no, we'll do it in live action.
When she did the cool little stunt where she actually managed to take out one of the fighters, I thought
crazy.
That was the highlight of the episode for me.
Yeah, I'm like, thank you to have a Jedi actually take a friggin' ship out like that, because that really, I feel like would happen. You know what I'm saying? A Jedi should be able to know how, even if they threw the lightsaber and took it down, if they had to, you know, it would be tricky. I wouldn't want to take my ship anywhere near a Jedi. Let me put it that way. But no, I mean, I love that sequence. It was, you know, it was great getting there. And then, but obviously the whole, them getting to that, you know, trying to get to Cetos, and then you see what they call the eye of,
Well, remember there's also the are you talking about the space station? You're talking about the hyperdrive.
Yeah, right? I was going to say before we get there. Yeah, I was going to say they head toward, you know, they're heading towards the planet, and you see the hypergate or whatever, you know, they call it the Eye of Sion.
Yeah.
And man, this thing's got guns on it, so they're, you know, she's trying to get through it and all that, you know. And he said, and Hu Yang's trying to like download the information. I love how the download happens right at the end. But no, I mean, it was that whole chase sequence leading up to that was just so great, because you see him having to use the actual Purgle to keep away from the other ships, because Shin Hati and again Marok is flying in another ship, still with the helmet on, can't see the face. So that obviously tells you this is going to be a reveal. This is going to be a surprise reveal at some point.
I don't know if I'm convinced that it's going to be someone we've seen before in Star Wars, but I feel like whatever it is, if they do reveal the person's face, it sounds like it's probably supposed to be some kind of surprise.
Right.
So
I just feel
whether
like there's going to be some connection to Ahsoka, or I feel like it's going to be some connection to Ahsoka in some way, but beyond that, I just don't. I've been trying to take a guess and be like, oh, it's Ezra, or oh, it's Barriss Offee or something, but I really don't know who this could be. I mean,
I've seen so many theories. I'm not even going to try to entertain a theory at the moment. Just because of the nature of Filoni's storytelling, sometimes he can create something new. Sometimes he'll pull something from like the past in the canon, or sometimes he'll pull something from Legends and kind of rework it into the current canon. So like, I've seen so many theories going from Ezra, which I don't believe at all. I don't think that just doesn't fit the story. But I've seen other ones like Merrick is, people are connecting that with Star Killer from, Sam Witwer's character from The Force Unleashed, because his original name was Galen Merrick, but it was spelled differently.
Oh yeah.
But I've seen that theory, and then what you mentioned with Barasafi. So I don't think anybody's. I'm not. I don't think anybody's right, because that's the weird thing I've noticed with a lot of speculating is everybody is so like they get so wrapped up in wanting their speculation, their guess to be right, that if it's not right, a lot of times they'll get angry instead of just accepting what it means for the story and just enjoying the surprise as it is. Because that happened a lot throughout the sequel trilogy. I noticed people turned when theories did not go in their favor.
Yeah. No, I think especially the Luke storyline, people really didn't like that. I didn't really have a problem with it, like Luke going off to an island, but with this, I don't know, I didn't really have a big problem.
Yeah. But the mysterious character, but Ahsoka and Sabine land on Cetos with her conveniently red ship, which made it perfect for hiding in the trees. Which is good.
The very red trees.
It's like I bet Ahsoka saw those trees. Was like, oh, I'm glad I got this paint job.
Right. But no, I mean it's crazy because then after that you kind of see them, skull like Baylan, because Baylan knew the whole time that they were coming because he felt it. And that's one thing I've liked about his character is that he's always been honest and been like, it's the future's kind of clouded, it's uncertain, and he's I don't know. And then with this, he's like have no
he just accepts
basically have no qualms. She's coming. Like don't think that you've pulled one over.
I'm curious what where he's gonna end up in the story, because I think I'm not certain he's gonna survive past the next episode, but I do like how he has a melancholy vibe to him. He doesn't, it doesn't sound like he cares, that the Jedi were almost extinct, but he also doesn't really seem happy about killing them.
Yeah, no. All I can do is I can say, hopefully for the future we get a really interesting backstory on him. Mm-hmm. But so far, I think we're off to a good start with the first 3 episodes. Episode 3 was too short. We need more, so I'm ready for next week. But Ray, any last words? What's your final wrap up?
I'm thoroughly enjoying the show. I'm having fun with it. I'm looking forward to 4. I don't think Baylan's going to survive past the next episode. I really think it's his final episode for the season. Well, for the show itself, because Ray Stevenson passed away, unfortunately. But yeah, I do think his story is going to end at the next episode. Just because the next one, we've obviously seen that they're going to face off. He's going to face off with Ahsoka, and he's been told that he needs to kill her. So I think it's going to be a fight to the death between them.
Yeah, I guess so, unless they, come to some agreement.
I guess we'll find out. So,
all right, guys.
What about you, Ashley?
What about you?
I can't talk much because of my voice and all, but I've enjoyed it. Yep. I didn't like episode 3 as much as the others. It felt more fillery than the first 2, but other than that, I think it's a nice ode to George Lucas, because you could see a lot of George Lucas in the filmmaking.
Sure. And especially the ship shots and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It did feel like a bridge episode to the next. Like, it's kind of a low key episode to the next one. This one kind of gave you more just space battle and a little more filler. But yeah, hopefully the next one's going to be a big epic fight.
It was a big setup episode. Yeah, it was like a lot of it's for setting up the next episode with Hera and Sabine and Ahsoka. Yeah. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. My BB, he's excited for it. So I say, let's go for it, guys. I guess that's another episode of That Toy Life. We'll catch you on the flip side.
The flippity floppy.
Flippity flop. Watch Ahsoka every week.
Bye-bye.